Alright, in this video we're going to look at how we solve exponential equations by getting the same base on both sides. Now, this is actually a really easy way to solve an exponential equation if you happen to be lucky enough to be able to do it this way, okay? In order to be able to work this problem, we're going to have to use the exponent property of equality, which is if you've got a base raised to one exponent and it's set equal to that same base raised to another exponent, then the two exponents will have to be equal in order to make that work, okay? So you got to have an equation where both sides of the equation can actually be written with the same exponent, okay? That's the problem with this, is it doesn't work for everything, okay? So your first step would be to isolate the exponential and write both sides of the equation as powers of the same base. So if you've got two terms, you need one on one side and one on the other. Use the exponent property of equality, which you see right up here, to set the exponents equal, solve the equation. So your first step is actually your hardest. Really, it's the only part of the whole problem that's tricky, okay? So let's take a look at a couple of examples that use this technique. All right, here's our first one. 4 raised to the x minus 8 is equal to 1 over 16, okay? So I've already got the 4 to the exponent isolated. I only have one term on the other side, which is good. So now what we have to do is figure out if we can write 1 over 16 as 4 to some power. Okay, well first you probably notice that, that 16 is a power of 4, right? If we square 4, we're going to get 16. The problem is that's kind of upside down, okay? That's the reciprocal of 16. So I also need something that's going to make me flip that base. And as we have looked at already, if you've got a negative exponent on a base, that makes you take the reciprocal of your base. So that's how we're going to turn 4 into a fraction, okay? And then we'll need the 2 to get the 16 at the bottom. So let's write that part. This is just going to be a repeat on this side. And then over here, it's going to be 4 to the negative 2. I know it feels like that ought to be a fraction exponent, but it's not. Remember, fraction exponents make roots. So what we're going to do here, since those two are the same base now, is we will just apply that property and let x minus 8 be equal to the negative 2. It's almost like you're canceling the 4s. You're not really, okay? So it's probably not a good idea to think about it that way. They do kind of disappear. What you're really doing is just making up a new equation. You're saying if those two exponentials are equal, then this has to happen. These two have to be equal to each other. Now give me just a second because we're kind of close right here, and let me see if I can move some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, I gave us a little bit more room there. So if I add 8 to both sides, we can finish this one up pretty quick. Negative 2 plus 8 would give me a 6. Okay, so my x is equal to 6. Now if you would like to, what you can do is go back up here and plug that in. You're going to see 4 to the 6 minus 8, which will give you a negative 2 right here. And 4 to the negative 2 gives us the 1 over 16, just like we found out a second ago. Okay? So there's our first one. Like I said, really the toughest part is right here, because this is usually a nice little linear equation that doesn't require a lot of effort to solve. Let's take a look at our second one. Now, this one's a little bit different, okay? This one actually has two approaches you could take, so we may want to look at both ways we could do it. First, let's approach it kind of like we did the last one and just assume that the base needs to be the 49, okay? So how could we get a 7 out of 49 by raising it to a power? Okay, so that seems kind of weird, doesn't it, since 7 is smaller than 49, but if you remember, the two special cases are the negative exponent, which we've already seen, and roots, okay? If I took the square root of 49, that would give me a 7, and I can write a square root as an exponential. So let's take a look at that way first. That way would have us leaving the 49 to the 2x alone and writing this side as 49 to the 1/2 power. Okay, because 49 to the 1/2 is 7. And now we apply the property and just get 2x is equal to 1 over 2. We're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 1/4. So that's one option, okay? One way of going about it. The other way that we can do is we can say, okay, well, I could write both sides as a power of 7. The 7 over here is already 7 to the first. And then to write this side, all I have to do is have 7 squared. And then raise that to the 2x power. So what I would get looks like this. 7 squared raised to the 2x. That's the 49 to the 2x side. And then this side, of course, is just 7 to the first power. Alright, well, when you raise an exponential to another exponent, what you do is you multiply the powers together. That's an exponential rule. So we get 7 to the 4x equals 7 to the first, and you probably see where this is going. We can apply the property now. 4x is equal to 1. Scoot up just a little bit. So x is equal to 1/4. We get the same thing either way. So use whichever way there you feel more comfortable and understand it a little bit better, okay?